Rick and Morty Season 9 just dropped a preview for the next episode, episode 3, which is called Rick Fu Hustle, and in just 2.5 minutes, they packed in a Kill Bill reference, a Stephen Chow homage, a Fist of the North Star technique, and possibly the most important Rick Sanchez character moment since he killed Rick Prime. And somehow, ladies and gentlemen, Jerry's pool is still a plot point. Let's break down every Easter egg reference that was shown in this preview before the episode actually starts. We're going to start with the first one and the best one, which is the 5-point exploding heart technique. So the centerpiece of this whole preview is the Kung Fu Master hitting Rick with the 5-point exploding heart technique, 5 precise strikes, after which the victim takes exactly 5 steps and their heart explodes. Now, if you've seen Kill Bill Volume 2, you will recognize this immediately. Pai Mei taught Beatrix Kiddo this technique, and she used it to kill Bill at the end of the film. So it's not a subtle reference, this is a direct lift from that movie, but here's where it gets deeper. The Kung Fu Master isn't just doing any heart exploding technique. The specific visual, the rapid, precise finger strikes, the delayed effect, the countdown, that's pure Pai Mei. Pai Mei is the ancient terrifying Kung Fu Master from the Kill Bill universe who only teaches his deadly technique to students he deems worthy. He's a legendary figure in martial arts cinema, originally inspired by Bak Mei, you know, the white eyebrow master from Shaw Brothers films in the 70s. So Rick Sanchez, the smartest man in the multiverse, the guy who killed Rick Prime, who literally a couple of episodes ago survived being cut into pieces, is now facing a character straight out of a martial arts mythology. And the weird thing is, will it actually work? Fans are really perplexed because we've seen his body get destroyed and rebuilt. In the Evil Morty fight, his brain was literally pulled out. He has a metal layer that deploys over his vital organs. He has Operation Phoenix backup clones. So what the hell is he doing being afraid from an old Kung Fu Master? This move is so weird that even Morty is shocked here. Now we go to number 2, which is the episode title. The episode title, Rick Fu Hustle, is a direct parody of Stephen Chow's 2004 masterpiece, Kung Fu Hustle. If you haven't seen it, then you're definitely missing out. It's one of the great action comedies, and the film follows a wannabe gangster in the 40s Shanghai who accidentally gets caught up in a war between the brutal Axe gang and a rundown housing complex full of retired Kung Fu masters. But the parallels are kind of crazy. So in Kung Fu Hustle, seemingly ordinary people turn out to be hidden martial arts legends. In this preview that we saw, a random guy in the parking lot, someone Rick even dismisses as an NPC, turns out to be a master of the deadliest technique in martial arts. That's like pure Stephen Chow storytelling. Never underestimate the old guy. But there's even more obscure connections. So there's another Stephen Chow film called The Flirting Scholar. In that film, there's a poison that if injected, the victim will be killed if they take 7 steps. So what does the victim do? They hop instead of walking. In this case, Rick's solution was to walk backwards. So the logic is exactly the same absurd reasoning if you get hit by this technique, meaning if you go backwards, you're technically not violating the terms. And here's the kicker, by the way. In Flirting Scholar, the poison turns out to be fake, so the victim was terrified over nothing, which of course raises the question, is this Kung Fu Master trolling Rick? Is this even real, or will Rick spend the whole episode running from a guy who was just bluffing? Number 3 is the Fist of the North Star. So the Fist of the North Star is a legendary manga and anime from the 80s. In this manga, the protagonist, if he strikes you in specific points, then they explode seconds later. So now we have found the reference of the reference, meaning that this manga was the inspiration for Stephen Chow using it years later in his own films, and then now Dan Harmon using it in Rick Fu Hustle. Number 4, the worst one, Boobworld. Well, the pain now is universal. Morty is never going to get there. It's become his personal downbeat, that callback to season 5's Mortiplicity, where the family kept dying before they could enjoy a downbeat. Boobworld is Morty's downbeat 2.0. At this point, Boobworld has transcended being a joke. It's a metaphor for Morty's entire existence, kinda. Constantly dragged into Rick's chaos, always almost getting what he wants, never actually getting it. And what kills me is that they were so close and you could see it. Like the moment Rick said, finally, we're taking Morty to Boobworld, and Morty just splits into that genuine smile. Honestly, it was adorable. adorable, and they stopped at Trader Joe's for supplies. I love the little side thing where now we find out Rick's mouth is an air fryer, and the trip was just about to happen, but then the parking lot fender bender derails the entire adventure. And here's the thing, Morty will also be furious in this episode because he will also blame the Kung Fu guy for costing him a trip to Boobworld. I just hope that by the end of this season or any other time, we need to finally see Boobworld as a collective fandom, let alone Morty. Number 5 is Jerry's Pool. Now, believe it or not, you might think that this is a nothing burger, but people have already concocted their own theories. So the pool has appeared in all 3 episodes in season 9. The fans are treating it literally as an ARG. Like episode 1, it was just mentioned and it was seen. Episode 2, the old man in the seat, Jerry was dealing with pool problems. But now in episode 3, we open with Jerry's crappy pool bot malfunctioning and Jerry is refusing to hire Keith the pool guy. Why? Well, because Keith is a hot pool guy and Jerry doesn't want a hot pool guy around his wife, so he lied, and this is classic Jerry insecurity. The pool bot was bought from the guy that lives behind the pool store dumpster, but there is a significant theory that is gaining traction. People are thinking that, is this pool subplot going somewhere? Is Dan Harmon planning something? Is something important going to happen with it? Because some think that it's just a running gag, pure and simple, and that could be. Others think that this is slowly building towards Doofus Jerry. Now, Doofus Jerry is an alternate universe Jerry who's actually competent, dangerous, and manipulative. If the pool storyline is building towards something bigger, Doofus Jerry is the payoff fans are hoping for. It seems unlikely that they dedicate screen time in 3 consecutive episodes to a pool for no reason. That's not how Dan Harmon works. Number 6 is Rick's emotional arc. This is kind of the most important layer of this episode, and it connects deeply to the season so far. The common thread this season is Rick needing new enemies now that Rick Prime has been dealt with. He picked a fight with evil Morty, with himself in episode 2, and now with this random Kung Fu master in a parking lot. So the dude craves a nemesis. It's the only identity he knows. So Rick's entire identity for decades was built around hunting Rick Prime, and now that that's done and the man who killed Diane is dead, who is Rick Sanchez? What does he do with himself? And apparently the answer is he picks fights with strangers. You see, when Morty begs him in this preview to be the bigger man, he doubles down. He says, screw that, we got to set this idiot straight. He calls himself a Doctor Who Loki, who calls the Kung Fu Master an NPC. So the ego is off the charts. So this means Rick is needing conflict because without it, he has to sit in his own loneliness. And season 9 literally has a problem because the tension between should Rick be terrifying or should Rick finally grow up, this is the central debate I've seen among the fandom. And this episode seems designed to explore exactly that just by this preview. The last one, number 7, the old man and the seat parallel. So if this preview looks familiar structurally, it's because it mirrors episode 2. Another episode where Rick accepts a challenge from a stranger and presumably learns something about not always being right. Same formula, different genre. So in episode 2, there was a tragic drama about loneliness. This one is about martial arts comedy. Episode 2 was about Rick learning to be vulnerable enough to make a real connection, and then watching that connection die tragically, reinforcing his belief that he can't have real friends. And now in episode 3, he's immediately back to aggression, back to treating strangers as beneath him. The Kung Fu Master is the new toilet guy, except instead of bonding over shared loss, Rick is starting a fight. So my prediction is that this episode ends with the technique being real, Rick being forced to acknowledge there are things even he doesn't understand, and the Kung Fu Master turns out to be more than just an NPC, possibly just a genuine threat, possibly perhaps a genuine friend. Either way, the backwards walk isn't going to save him, it just buys him some time. And as far as Boobworld, well, one can only hope. Thank you guys so much for watching this. Subscribe for more videos on other shows, and I'll see you next time.